Thank you, Mr. President. We thank Special Coordinator Sigrid Kaag for her comprehensive briefing. I think it was a grim, rather grave picture that she presented. She spoke of trauma, the fragility of the situation, and what she termed as perhaps a last chance for a two-state solution. And we think that your 4 key requests merit full support of this Council. We have also carefully noted the observations made by the CSO briefers. Human suffering, power asymmetry, root causes, occupation, apartheid, international law, and accountability were the key words there. Mr. President, the war in Gaza has brought an unfathomable human tragedy. Over 47,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children, have been killed. More than 90% of Gaza's infrastructure, homes, businesses, hospitals, and places of worship has been reduced to rubble. This is not just destruction. It is an assault on an entire people's existence. The scale of suffering demands not just our sympathy, but decisive action. After 15 months of relentless killing and devastation, the ceasefire brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States offers a fleeting moment of relief. Pakistan welcomes this diplomatic breakthrough and commends the mediators. Yet we must not mistake this pause in violence for peace. The situation remains precarious. Delay in releasing Palestinian prisoners risks derailing the process, prolonging suffering and undermining trust in future agreements. The ceasefire must be honored in full and must lead to a permanent cessation of hostilities. But even if the guns have fallen silent in Gaza, a deeper crisis persists. Peace cannot take root as long as Israel's actions in the occupied West Bank continue with impunity. Over 50,000 Palestinians have been forcibly displaced, the largest mass expulsion since 1967. Military raids, settler violence, and illegal land annexations intensify daily. These are not isolated incidents, but part of a deliberate strategy to erase Palestinian identity from their own land. It is ethnic cleansing in real time. If this Council is serious about peace, it should ensure that the ceasefire extends beyond Gaza to all occupied Palestinian territories. To move beyond this perpetual cycle of violence and destruction, the international community must prioritize the pursuit of a just and lasting peace. In our view, it should entail the following. First, full and immediate implementation of the ceasefire, ensuring a permanent cessation of hostilities, Israeli withdrawal from Gaza, unrestricted humanitarian access, and a comprehensive reconstruction plan for Gaza, which will need to be supported by the international community and led and owned by the Palestinians. Pakistan fully supports the call for the enforcement of this Council's Resolution 2735. A ceasefire that does not lead to a sustainable peace will only delay the next catastrophe. Second, an end to Israel's aggression in the West Bank. The destruction of refugee camps in Jenin, Tulkarem, Nur al-Shams, and Al-Farah mirrors the devastation in Gaza. Forced displacements and illegal annexations must be reversed in line with Resolutions 2720 and 2334 of this Council. The legal and historical status of Al-Haram al-Sharif, Al-Aqsa Mosque must be upheld. It is clear that stability cannot be achieved through continued occupation and oppression. Third, UNRWA must be allowed to operate without obstruction. Israel has a legal duty under Article 2.5 of the UN Charter to facilitate its work. General Assembly's Resolution 79232 reinforces this obligation and condemns all attempts to hinder humanitarian aid. The deliberate targeting of aid agencies is a moral outrage and a violation of international law. Humanitarian relief cannot be allowed to be weaponized. Fourth, we must revive a credible, irreversible political process that leads to the establishment of a Palestinian state. Full UN membership for Palestine is not a symbolic gesture. It is a legal and moral imperative. The June conference, to be co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia, presents an important opportunity for peace that must be seized and fully supported by all of us through concrete actions and support for the Palestinian Authority. And let us be clear, peace cannot and must not be allowed to be dictated by the occupier. It must be grounded in justice, international law, and the inalienable right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. The upcoming Emergency Arab League Summit in Cairo, to be followed by the OIC Foreign Ministers meeting in Jeddah, are expected to provide crucial guidance on addressing the dire situation in Gaza and the broader Palestinian question. Leaders will reaffirm solidarity with Palestine and send a resolute message rejecting any attempts to forcibly displace the Palestinian people or alter the status of the occupied territories. This Council must continue to stand firmly against forced displacement and annexation. A just peace demands more than diplomatic declarations. It requires enforcement, accountability, a rejection of impunity, and pressure on the occupying power to comply with UN resolutions and international legitimacy. The right of return for Palestinian refugees and the realization of a sovereign, independent, and contiguous Palestine are not mere aspirations, they are the foundation of any lasting peace in the region. Within this broader struggle for justice, we must also keep in mind the human suffering, as we have also heard today. We cannot forget the thousands of Palestinian prisoners languishing in Israeli custody, arbitrarily detained, tortured, and held in inhumane conditions. They suffer in silence. Some have perished due to mistreatment and medical neglect. These are war crimes. The world cannot afford selective morality. Double standards on human rights only embolden injustice and perpetuate the conflict. Israel's illegal occupation of the Arab territories is at the core of the turmoil in the Middle East. Full implementation of this Council's resolutions with regard to Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine is imperative for a just and lasting peace in the region. Pakistan stands resolutely with the Palestinian people in their rightful struggle for self-determination, freedom, and statehood. A sovereign, independent and contiguous state of Palestine based on pre-1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital is not just a political necessity, it is a moral imperative. If we truly believe in the UN Charter principles, if we stand for justice, for the rule of law, for the fundamental right of all peoples to live in dignity, then we must act. Justice for Palestine cannot wait. I thank you.